Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be stepping into this world where molecules kind of whisper secrets and chemical tools unlock all these new possibilities in biology and medicine.
It's like unlocking a hidden language.
Yeah, exactly. Like elegant solutions, but on like a microscopic scale.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Okay,
Advanced chemical tools for molecular recognition.
I love it. We've got 5 concepts to explore,
5.
each one shedding light on how scientists are like harnessing those molecular interactions. So it's all about understanding that intricate dance between molecules and how we can manipulate that dance, for good.
And the implications are huge. We're talking like breakthroughs in treating diseases and developing new therapies
Right.
and even understanding life at its most fundamental level. So,
Okay, so let's just jump right in. The first concept that really grabbed my attention was receptor dimerization. Now, I know we often use that like lock and key analogy for receptors and molecules,
right.
but this takes it to a whole new level.
It's not just one lock and key anymore. It's like imagine 2 receptors, each like a lock. They merge together and they create this brand new lock with its own unique key.
So this new lock, or this receptor dimer, can trigger totally different signals within a cell.
Exactly. And this process allows cells to generate diverse signals from a limited number of receptors, which is super efficient. And it plays a vital role in regulating all these different cellular processes, from growth and development to immune responses.
Wow. But like any powerful tool, it can be misused, right?
Of course.
I was reading that some cancer cells can hijack this dimerization process
Right.
to send out growth signals
Exactly.
and basically evade the body's defenses.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why understanding this process is so crucial. Like, if we can figure out how cancer cells are exploiting receptor dimerization, we might be able to develop drugs that disrupt that process and stop those cells in their tracks.
So it's like this cellular arms race,
Kind of.
with scientists trying to stay one step ahead of these rogue cells.
In a way, yeah, and that's where those advanced chemical tools we were talking about, they come in. They give us the power to not only observe these interactions,
Right.
but to potentially manipulate them as well.
So speaking of manipulating interactions, let's talk about partial agonists.
Mm?
This is where things get really fascinating to me. Instead of like completely turning a receptor on or off, these molecules act like a dimmer switch for neurotransmission.
Right.
So it's all about control.
Think of it this way, like if a full agonist is like flipping a light switch on,
Okay.
a partial agonist is like adjusting a dimmer.
Okay.
It allows for much finer control over the receptor's activity.
And that kind of fine-tuning can be super valuable when you're dealing with complex conditions like anxiety or chronic pain.
Absolutely. Because instead of completely shutting down a neurotransmitter system, which could lead to unwanted side effects,
Right.
partial agonists, they allow us to modulate its activity more subtly.
So it's more nuanced. It's almost like finding that perfect volume setting for a particular brain circuit.
Exactly. And that's just one example of how understanding molecular recognition is leading to these more targeted and effective therapies.
Wow. Okay. Now, on the flip side, we have these mysterious orphan receptors.
Yeah.
I love the name. It just sounds so intriguing.
Yeah.
It's like we found these locks in the body, but we have no idea what keys fit them.
Yeah. It's a bit like finding a treasure map, but not knowing where X marks the spot. We know these receptors exist.
Okay.
And we have a hunch they play important roles in various bodily processes, but we haven't identified the molecules that activate them yet.
So it's like a giant puzzle waiting to be solved.
Yes.
And the potential rewards for solving it could be massive, right?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine unlocking the secrets of these orphan receptors. It could open up entirely new pathways for drug development, potentially leading to treatments for diseases we don't even know how to target yet.
It's like stumbling upon this vast, uncharted territory.
Exactly. And the race is on to find those missing keys and unlock that therapeutic potential hidden within these orphan receptors.
Okay, so we've got dimerized receptors teaming up, we've got partial agonists acting like dimmer switches, and orphan receptors just waiting to be unlocked.
Right.
What other molecular marvels await us in this deep dive?
Well, let's talk about biased agonism.
Okay.
This is where drug development gets even more sophisticated. It's not just about activating a receptor anymore.
Okay.
It's about activating specific signaling pathways within that receptor.
So it's like a drug that can choose its own adventure, picking and choosing which effects to activate within a cell.
You got it. It's all about fine-tuning drug action to favor helpful cellular responses while bypassing those that could cause those unwanted side effects. So instead of a blunt tool, we're talking about a finely tuned instrument.
So less like a sledgehammer and more like a scalpel.
Exactly. And that's that level of precision that makes biased agonism so promising for developing safer and more effective therapies.
This all sounds incredibly complex, but also really exciting. It's like we're entering this new era of drug development where we can target diseases with incredible precision.
And it all boils down to understanding those nuances of molecular recognition.
Right.
The more we learn about how molecules interact, the more we can manipulate those interactions to achieve specific therapeutic goals.
It's like we're learning the secret handshake of the cellular world and using that knowledge to develop treatments that work in harmony with the body's own processes.
That's a great way to put it, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. We
Yeah.
still have one more fascinating concept to explore: allosteric modulators.
Okay, so what's the deal with allosteric modulators? Are they like the VIPs of the molecular world getting special access to receptors?
In a way, yes. Unlike traditional drugs that bind directly to the active site of a receptor,
Right.
allosteric modulators, they work by binding to a different site.
Oh.
So they subtly influence the receptor's behavior from a distance.
So instead of like directly activating or blocking the receptor, they're more like these gentle nudges, kind of encouraging it to behave in a particular way.
Precisely. It's a more subtle approach to fine-tuning receptor activity, making allosteric modulators valuable tools for drug development.
So they're whispering suggestions to the receptor instead of shouting orders.
That's a great analogy. And this subtle approach can be very advantageous. It allows for more precise control over receptor signaling and often results in fewer side effects.
Wow. It's amazing how much we're learning about these subtle interactions between molecules.
It's fascinating.
And the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't yet know.
Oh, absolutely. It's a never-ending journey of discovery. And as we delve deeper into the molecular world, we can expect to uncover even more innovative therapies and a profound understanding of the complexities of life itself.
Well, I, for one, am eager to continue this journey. We've covered some incredibly complex concepts so far, but it's been fascinating to hear how scientists are harnessing these tools to make a real difference in the world of medicine.
We've only just scratched the surface. But hopefully, it's giving you a glimpse into the incredible power of these advanced chemical tools and the exciting future they hold.
Before we move on, I think it's important to acknowledge that all this talk about receptors and molecules might seem a bit abstract.
Right.
So let's take a moment to connect these concepts back to the bigger picture.
Absolutely. It's easy to get lost in the details.
Yeah.
But it's crucial to remember that these molecular interactions are happening inside our bodies, influencing everything from how our brains function to how our bodies fight disease.
That's right. And as we continue our exploration of molecular recognition, we'll see how these seemingly small-scale interactions can have a profound impact on our health and well-being.
And it's not just about treating disease. These advancements are also paving the way for new diagnostic tools, preventive measures, and even a deeper understanding of ourselves as complex, interconnected systems.
Well, I'm definitely feeling a bit more connected to my inner molecular world after that. But I think it's time for a little break to let all this information sink in. We'll be back soon to explore some real-world examples of how these concepts are being applied to address some pressing challenges.
You know, so far we've been talking about these chemical tools as if they're operating in isolation.
Right.
But in reality, these molecular interactions are all happening within this complex and dynamic environment.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like we've been focusing on like the individual dancers,
Right?
but now it's time to consider the whole choreography.
Exactly. The context in which these interactions occur plays a huge role. For example, the environment within a cell can actually influence the shape and behavior of receptors, affecting how they interact with different molecules.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about finding the right key for the lock. It's also about making sure the lock is in the right shape and the environment is right for binding.
Precisely. And that's where things get really interesting because it means that factors like pH, temperature, even the presence of other molecules can all influence these delicate interactions.
It's like trying to have a conversation in a crowded room versus a quiet library.
Right.
The environment can totally affect how that communication flows.
And speaking of communication, did you know that there's this fascinating interplay happening between our gut and our brain, mediated by molecular recognition?
Wait, our gut is talking to our brain. I thought those were two separate systems.
Well, they are, but they're connected by this complex network of nerves and signaling molecules. And it turns out that the trillions of bacteria living in our gut, known as the gut microbiome, can actually produce molecules that influence our brain chemistry.
Hold on. Our gut bacteria are messing with our minds. That's both fascinating and a little creepy.
Well, it's not quite mind control, but it's definitely a two-way conversation. These gut bacteria can produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine,
Wow.
which play crucial roles in mood, cognition, and even things like appetite and sleep.
So those, like, butterflies in your stomach feelings might actually be real signals from our gut bacteria.
In a way, yes. It's a reminder that our bodies are incredibly complex and interconnected, with molecular recognition playing a key role in orchestrating this whole symphony of interactions.
Okay, so we've got our gut bacteria whispering sweet nothings to our brain.
Right.
But what about other environmental factors? How do those influence these molecular conversations?
Well, think about things like diet, stress, exposure to toxins. All of these can actually affect the expression of receptors on cells, which in turn influences how those cells respond to different molecules.
It makes you realize that our bodies are constantly adapting and responding to the world around us,
Yeah,
even at the molecular level.
exactly. And that adaptability is key to our survival, but it also means that things can go wrong.
Hmm?
When these molecular conversations get disrupted, it can lead to disease.
So it's a delicate balance.
It is.
And it sounds like these advanced chemical tools are giving us a more detailed understanding of that balance than ever before.
That's right. And that knowledge is crucial for developing more effective therapies and preventive measures. For instance, understanding how diet can influence gut bacteria and brain chemistry could open up new avenues for treating conditions like depression and anxiety.
It's like we're shifting from a reactive approach to healthcare where we just treat symptoms
Right.
to a more proactive one where we can potentially address the root causes of disease.
Absolutely. And that's the exciting thing about this field. We're moving beyond just treating disease. We're starting to understand how to actually optimize health at a molecular level.
Speaking of optimization, one of the sources we looked at mentioned this concept of polypharmacology, where a single drug can interact with multiple targets in the body.
Right.
Sounds almost too good to be true.
It is a fascinating area of research, especially when we're dealing with complex diseases like cancer or Alzheimer's. Instead of trying to design drugs that hit a single target with pinpoint accuracy, polypharmacology embraces the idea that a more holistic approach might be more effective.
So instead of a silver bullet, it's more like a shotgun approach,
Yeah.
hitting multiple targets at once.
Well, not quite a shotgun approach. The key here is to really understand the network of interactions between different targets and design drugs that can modulate those interactions in a beneficial way. It's about finding synergy between different pathways.
But wouldn't that increase the risk of side effects? If a drug is interacting with multiple targets, couldn't it throw other systems off balance?
Yeah, that's a valid concern, and it's something that researchers are carefully considering. The goal is to find drugs that have synergistic effects,
Okay.
meaning that their combined action on multiple targets produces a greater benefit than hitting any single target alone.
Okay.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
I can see how that would be tricky.
It is.
It's like trying to juggle multiple balls while riding a unicycle.
Yeah.
But if they can pull it off, the potential benefits could be enormous.
Absolutely. Imagine a single drug that could tackle different aspects of a complex disease simultaneously, potentially reducing the need for multiple medications and minimizing side effects. That's the dream of polypharmacology.
It's definitely a bold vision.
It is.
But given the incredible progress we've seen in molecular recognition, I wouldn't bet against it.
Me neither.
And it's not just about the drugs themselves.
Right.
The way we deliver those drugs is also becoming more sophisticated.
Much more.
We're seeing innovations in areas like nanotechnology and biomaterials, allowing for more targeted and controlled drug release.
Exactly. We can deliver these drugs much more effectively.
So it's like having a GPS system for your medication, guiding it directly to the target tissue and minimizing collateral damage.
That's a great analogy. These targeted drug delivery systems are designed to release medication only where it's needed, reducing side effects and improving therapeutic efficacy.
It's incredible how these advancements in molecular recognition are rippling out into so many different areas of medicine and beyond.
It's a true testament to the power of understanding these fundamental interactions. And as we continue to explore this fascinating world, I have no doubt that we'll uncover even more groundbreaking discoveries and innovations.
Well, I'm certainly feeling a sense of awe and wonder after this deep dive into the molecular world. It's amazing to think that these tiny interactions are happening inside us all the time, orchestrating the symphony of life.
And it's a symphony worth listening to. Because the more we understand these intricate melodies, the better equipped we'll be to write new compositions that promote health, well-being, and even a more sustainable future.
Speaking of sustainability, I'm curious to learn more about how these chemical tools are being used to address environmental
Oh,
challenges.
yeah.
I know we touched on it briefly earlier,
We did.
but I think it deserves a deeper dive.
Absolutely. So we've talked about how molecular recognition can help us develop targeted therapies and diagnose diseases, but it can also play a crucial role in actually cleaning up our planet.
Okay, so how are scientists using molecular recognition to tackle these environmental issues? It sounds like we're shifting gears from the microscopic world of cells to the macroscopic world of pollution and climate change.
That's right. And one of the most promising areas is the development of these new catalysts that can actually transform pollutants into valuable resources.
Yeah.
Remember those orphan receptors we talked about earlier? Imagine if we could find catalysts that could bind to and neutralize harmful chemicals in the environment, just like a key fitting into a lock.
Also, it's like turning pollution into profit.
Yeah.
But how do these catalysts actually work?
Well, they're designed to mimic natural enzymes, which are incredibly efficient at breaking down and transforming molecules.
Okay.
By understanding the principles of molecular recognition, scientists can create these synthetic catalysts that can perform similar feats, but on a much larger scale.
So we're essentially borrowing nature's playbook
Yeah,
and applying it to environmental cleanup.
exactly. And the potential applications are vast. We're talking about cleaning up contaminated water sources, breaking down plastic waste,
Oh.
and even capturing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and converting it into useful materials.
This all sounds incredibly promising. It's like we're entering an era of molecular alchemy,
It is.
where we can transform harmful substances into something beneficial.
And it's not just about cleaning up existing pollution. We can also use these principles to design more sustainable processes from the ground up. For example, scientists are developing new materials that can selectively capture and release pollutants, preventing them from entering the environment in the first place.
It's like creating molecular filters that can trap environmental villains before they can do any harm.
Precisely. And this is just the beginning. As our understanding of molecular recognition grows, so too will our ability to leverage these tools to address a wide range of environmental challenges.
It's truly inspiring to see how something as fundamental as molecular recognition can have such a profound impact on both human health and the health of our planet.
It's a reminder that science is not just about these abstract concepts. It's about using our knowledge to solve real-world problems and create a better future for ourselves and generations to come.
Well said.
Yeah.
It seems like this deep dive has taken us on quite a journey, from the intricate world of receptors and ligands to the vast landscapes of pollution and climate change.
It has.
And it's all connected by this remarkable principle of molecular recognition.
It's a testament to the interconnectedness of all things.
Right.
And it's a powerful reminder that even the smallest interactions can have this ripple effect that extends far beyond their immediate surroundings.
I think it's safe to say that this conversation has expanded my appreciation for the invisible world of molecules and the incredible potential they hold. But I think it's time for a quick break to let all this new knowledge settle in. We'll be back soon to wrap up our exploration of molecular recognition and its impact on the world around us. So we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive into molecular recognition.
We have.
From like the intricate dances of receptors and ligands to the potential of these chemical tools to address global challenges. It's been a lot.
It really has.
But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear some specific examples of how these concepts are actually being applied out there in the real world. What are some areas where molecular recognition is making a tangible difference?
Well, one area where we're seeing just incredible progress is in the development of biosensors. So
Right.
these are devices that use biological components,
Right.
like enzymes or antibodies,
Okay.
to detect specific molecules with incredible accuracy.
I've heard of biosensors being used for things like glucose monitoring for people with diabetes.
Right.
Are there other applications?
Oh, absolutely. The applications are incredibly diverse. They're being used to detect everything from cancer biomarkers in blood to pollutants in water, even explosives in security settings.
Wow, it's like having a microscopic detective on the case, sniffing out these specific molecules in complex mixtures.
That's a great analogy. And the beauty of biosensors really lies in the exquisite specificity of molecular recognition. For example, in a glucose biosensor, an enzyme called glucose oxidase, it binds specifically to glucose molecules, triggering a measurable signal.
So it's like the enzyme is a molecular lock that only the glucose key can open.
Exactly. And this level of precision is what makes biosensors so valuable for such a wide range of applications. We're seeing them used in medical diagnostics, environmental monitoring, food safety, and even national security.
It's amazing how something as fundamental as molecular recognition can have such a far-reaching impact.
It really is. And speaking of impact,
Yeah.
let's circle back to environmental remediation.
Okay.
We talked earlier about using catalysts to transform pollutants into valuable
Right,
resources.
the whole turning pollution into profit idea.
Yeah,
It sounds almost like alchemy.
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's grounded in solid science. Scientists are developing catalysts that can mimic natural enzymes, breaking down harmful substances and converting them into these useful materials.
So it's like harnessing nature's own cleanup crew, but on a much larger scale.
Precisely. And these catalysts are being designed to target specific pollutants, like heavy metals in water or plastic waste in landfills, which is a much more targeted and efficient approach than traditional remediation methods.
It sounds like we're moving towards a future where we can clean up our planet at the molecular level. That's a very hopeful prospect.
It is, and it all stems from our growing understanding of how molecules interact.
Right.
By deciphering this language of molecular recognition, we're unlocking incredible potential to create a more sustainable and healthier future.
Well, this deep dive has certainly been an eye-opening experience. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for this invisible world of molecules and the power that they hold.
It's a world full of wonder, isn't it? And we've only just begun to explore its depths. As our knowledge of molecular recognition continues to expand, I have no doubt that we'll see even more groundbreaking discoveries and innovations in the years to come.
It really is exciting to think about what the future holds. We've talked about targeted therapies, biosensors, environmental remediation. What other possibilities do you see on the horizon?
Well, one area that I'm particularly excited about is the potential of molecular recognition in personalized medicine. Imagine a future where treatments are tailored to an individual's unique genetic makeup and molecular profile.
That sounds like science fiction, but is it really achievable?
Well, it's becoming more and more realistic. I mean, we're already seeing the emergence of personalized cancer therapies based on genetic testing.
Right.
And as our understanding of molecular recognition deepens, we'll be able to develop even more precise and effective treatments tailored to each individual's needs.
It's incredible to think that we're moving towards a future where medicine is truly personalized. What other areas do you see molecular recognition impacting?
The possibilities are vast. We're talking about developing new materials with remarkable properties, creating smart devices that can interact with our bodies at the molecular level, even engineering organisms to perform specific tasks. I mean, the sky's the limit.
It sounds like we're entering an era where those boundaries between biology, chemistry, and engineering are blurring.
Right.
It's a truly interdisciplinary field.
And that's what makes it so exciting. By bringing together expertise from different fields, we can leverage the power of molecular recognition to solve some of the world's most pressing challenges.
Well, I think we've reached the end of our molecular adventure.
We have.
It's been such a fascinating journey, from the smallest interactions between molecules to the grand challenges facing humanity.
It really has. It's been a pleasure sharing this deep dive with you. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for the power and potential of molecular recognition and the exciting future it holds.
We've explored how these advanced chemical tools are not just about understanding the world around us, but about using that knowledge to actually make a positive difference out there in the world.
Absolutely.
And as we've seen, that difference can be profound, from developing life-saving therapies to cleaning up our planet and shaping a more sustainable future for everyone.
For everyone.
So the next time you're at a cocktail party and someone mentions molecular recognition, you'll have plenty to talk about.
You will.
And who knows? Maybe you'll even inspire the next generation of scientists and innovators to delve into this fascinating field. Until next time, keep those synapses firing and those molecules dancing.